Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Boruto Naruto Next Generation's episode 71. We last left off, we had a one-off episode about Metal learning to cope with the fact that his anxiety is a part of him, and is not something he needs to overcome, but something he needs to be able to channel and work with, which is a great little episode about that. But we moved on into a whole new arc this week, episode 71, The Hardest Rock in the World. We open with Mitsuki having a dream of that final confrontation with Log and Orochimaru back in episode 39, as they're both trying to, get him onto their respective sides in the fake conflict or whatever. Which is a nice way to set up Mitsuki's conflict for the rest of the episode, which we also see kind of repeated with the chick scene during the restaurant bit. Mitsuki is starting to become worried that, he's only friends with Boruto and company because Orochimaru wants him to be in the Leaf Village. But before we worry about all that heavy stuff, we see Mitsuki's bedroom, and he has a framed picture of Boruto in his room. I watched this episode a little late, so, I had already seen that. I already heard about that before I watched the episode. But, oh my god, it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Wow, I love Mitsuki so much. Mitsuki is such a sweetie. And so after that, Mitsuki and the gang all go to a restaurant, where Mitsuki is actually eating, which, as we saw during the Chocho arc, was a habit he picked up after Chocho gave him the potato chips. So it's nice to know that Mitsuki that at least somebody got some character development out of the Chocho arc. It wasn't Chocho, for sure, because as I mentioned back in my review for 69, she's the exact same at the beginning and end of the arc. But Mitsuki got something. He now eats. He's a little bit more human. But then, it's initially just Chocho and Team 7, but then Chikadai and Inojin pop up, and we find out that a chick has imprinted itself onto Inojin. Which, first of all, that chick is super fucking adorable. It's just so cute. But also, the chick, as I mentioned, acts as a bit of a metaphor, as a bit of a way to frame Mitsuki's doubts throughout this whole scenario. Mitsuki worries that he's kind of imprinted himself on Boruto, just because, Boruto was, I guess, the first person to really talk to him that wasn't Orochimaru or Log. I guess. I don't know, I'm not entirely... The imprinting metaphors didn't quite really work for me, I don't know. They just felt kind of weird. But before that, we find out that the Kage are all having a summit to deal with the aftermath of the fight with Momoshiki. And they even invite the previous Kage, or the previous Kage including A, Mei, Kakashi, and Onoki, who we find out is out missing somewhere, but not Tsunade. Why is Tsunade not there? I get why all the other previous Kage are dead, right? But Tsunade is still alive. At first I thought maybe she had died in the interim between Naruto and Boruto, but we see in the preview for next week, Tsunade is in that video, in the preview. So she's still alive. But where is she in all this? I don't know. And so they're like, Onoki vanished because he's an old man and super senile. And so we find out later on, once we cut back to Team 7, the Kage, in the middle of their summit, straight up put out a missing persons ad for Onoki. Wow. I love this episode so much. It's so good. But before that happens, we see, Mitsuki verbalizes his doubts about actually liking being a part of Team 7 to Boruto. Boruto kind of brushes it off, but it's still very much a big part of the episode. I'm not entirely sure how to feel about all that, just because it does seem a tad out of nowhere. I guess we haven't really been in Mitsuki's headspace ever, I don't think. But it still is kind of weird to be all of a sudden, oh yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I like being a part of Team 7. But still, it is what it is. And then, as they're looking at the poster of Onoki, who should pop up but Onoki himself, who the gang tries to bring him back to the Hokage office, but he's like, yeah, before that, I'm going to go sightseeing, Uh, and then he mentions that he is over 100 years old. How is he still alive? How he should be dead by now. He is ancient. He fought Madara when Madara was alive, not when Madara was like Edo Tensei or Rinne Tensei. When Madara, the first time Madara was alive, he fought Madara, and he's still alive. Like, I always think about how they act like all these things, all like the Warring States period and Hashirama and Madara were like eons ago, but like no, it was 80 years ago, 90 years ago. Onoki was involved in both. I don't think it was like at least like 80 years before Naruto, but no. Onoki was no younger than 20 when he fought Madara, right? It's been a while since I've seen that scene, but like he was not old, and he's just over 100 now. So during Naruto, it has only been 60 years between the two series. Like that's no time at all, really. Especially given how like on a whole other tangent because I'm off my ADD meds at the moment and I'm in the mood for tangents. People like to criticize Boruto for, like, the sudden burst of technology. And, like, this is a show that this is a universe that went from, everyone is fighting each other all the time and not making any kind of technological advancements whatsoever to, the kind of semi-modern, semi-classical metropolis it was in Naruto in, like, 60 years. That's not a long time. So, like, honestly, get out of here with that whole technological advancement does not make sense in the series. It does. It makes sense. I mean, not make sense in a real world context, but it makes sense in the context of the original Naruto, so that's good enough for me. But anyway, so my initial impression when I watched that part of the episode where they're just like going shopping with Onoki is that he was definitely up to something. He's not just being lazy and does not care about the summit. But it seems like he just doesn't want to deal with it, But speaking of people being lazy, the former Kages just are so chill about, like, the alien invasion that just happened last weekend. Like, it's not been any time at all since since literal aliens popped up and invaded. Like, that's just kind of weird to me. They're so chill about it. I mean, sure, they've gotten used to, like, gigantic calamities. They survived Madara and Obito and Kaguya back in the day. But, like, I don't know. Kurosuchi's got a point. Kurosuchi has a point and all that, and I think she's right. They should be a bit more concerned about the end of the world. Like, maybe Urashiki won't come right away, but there are still plenty of Otsutskis around that could pop up at any moment that they just don't know about. So I think she's right on that. But then we see they're going around and like Team 7 and Onoki are like passing by a construction area, and like a construction beam like falls on someone, as construction beams are wont to do in fiction. And Onoki like pops out of his wheelchair and just particle styles the shit out of it. It's super fucking cool. Super fucking cool. But yeah, it's just good to see Onoki still got it. Like he's fucking Yoda-ing this shit. Like how Yoda was always like walking around with a cane until it's time to fight, and he went all like CGI badassery around here. Fucking love Yoda. Yeah, that's just a really cool thing to see. And so Onoki is still kind of like, after he does the particle style, like passes out because he's like a super old man. And he wakes up, and he sees Boruto as his grandson Kozuchi. And we find out that Kozuchi died at around Boruto's age, and that's really all we get out of him. And given that this arc, from what I've the rumors I picked up, is not really about Onoki and the Earth Village, I'm kind of curious what the point of bringing him up was. Just because, just kind of like, is he going to somehow be important in this arc, be important in the later arc, or was it just like brought up for the sake of being brought up? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see more on that. And And then, as I should have mentioned earlier, how the episode gets its title is throughout all this, Boruto wants to find... Naruto asks Boruto what the hardest rock in the world was. And Boruto figures, oh, Onoki should know something about this because he deals with rocks. He's the Tsuchikage, or he was the Tsuchikage. And of course, as I kind of figured throughout the episode, the hardest rock in the world is the bedrock within you, as Onoki puts it, or like the heart or the soul, which is kind of what I was figuring, you know. Which is, it's a little, you know, shonen fare, you know. But I like it. It makes sense. It makes sense. But Onoki tells Mitsuki that his bedrock is not as strong as the others, and that he is kind of wavering in who he is as a person. And that all of that, and really everything this arc is building towards, makes me feel like we're on some big shift for Mitsuki's character, which I find kind of weird because he has not had a big shift in the manga. And the anime is still vaguely beholden to the manga's version of events, and so there can't really be too many drastic shifts for Mitsuki's character, just because Mitsuki does not have a drastic shift for the Mujina arc, or the Ao arc, or the Kabuki arc in the manga. So yeah. Anyway, after that, they take Onoki to the Hokage residence, and Mitsuki heads home, and he senses that someone has been in there, someone that has some kind of sand or dirt powers. He notices like a puddle of dirt on the ground. I know puddle's not the right word for dirt, but I'm going with it. Just stick with me. And he sees a letter on his bed. And then we cut to him burning the letter. And I really need to know what was in that letter, because whatever it is, I have a feeling that's to make Mitsuki defect. That's kind of the impression I get from the previews, that Mitsuki is gone in the next episode. I'm assuming, because the last scene of the episode, we see two guards are like knocked out on the last day, or the day after the summit, with some kind of lightning style, and we see a headband fall to the ground. Is that headband Mitsuki's, or is it one of the guards? I'm not entirely sure. But whatever it is, it feels like a symbol of like Mitsuki leaving the Leaf Village for whatever reason at the moment. So I'm really curious to see where we go from there. And then we see the preview, and the preview has this nice, like, melancholic song that we don't really see in the Naruto previews, or the Boruto previews, I should say. And I really like it. I don't think it's going to be a common thing, given that most episodes don't have the kind of somber tone I imagine that 72 is going to have. But yeah, I just really love that track. So this, as an introduction to a new arc, this was kind of... It wasn't really a big episode. It was kind of a nice little, like, setting up the feelings Mitsuki is going to be working throughout the next arc. For that part, it already feels like this arc is going to be head and shoulders above anything that the Chocho arc gave us. I don't think it will quite reach the Chunin exams arc level of quality. But still, I feel like this was a good way to start the new arc. I like the increased focus on Mitsuki. Mitsuki has always been a favorite character of mine of the new gen. And so seeing how he deals with the doubts he has about his existence, about everything, is going to be really fun to see. Also, a Mitsuki arc means plenty more Orochimaru. And as I mentioned back in the Chocho arc, Orochimaru was really the best thing to come out of Boruto. But yeah, other than that, I'm really excited to see what's in the letter, to see what Mitsuki's up to as he leaves the Leaf Village, presumably. And just to see where things go from here. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video and the episode. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, or subscribe, or whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!